In this video, I'm going to talk about adding the just right amount of knowledge to your essay. And I've purposely started with a picture of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, because if you remember to that story, Goldilocks breaks into the Three Bears' house, like the burglar that she is, and she finds 3 bowls of porridge. The first bowl of porridge she tries is too hot. The second bowl of porridge she tries is too cold. The third bowl of porridge is just right. And porridge is very, very similar to adding knowledge to your essay, because if you put too little in, it's not going to do what it needs to do. If you put too much in, it's not going to work. If you get it just right, that would be the perfect essay, and it's that I want to look at today. Now, all essays require you to give knowledge of some variety or evidence to support your answers. You've got to include knowledge. But getting the right amount is tricky, but really important. If you put too little in, too small amount of evidence, too small amount of knowledge, the examiner is going to be left hungry and they're going to want more. If you put too much in, the examiner is going to feel sick, they're going to be distracted from your answer, and your essay is not going to work. You put just the right amount in, and the examiner is going to be as satisfied as that incredibly smug man in the picture there. Let's look at what this actually looks like in terms of a history essay. We're going to look at 3 exemplar paragraphs today that all are answering the exact same question. The question that you guys did a few weeks ago. Hitler's position of total power in August 34 was achieved mainly through the use of violence. Let's look at 3 example paragraphs. Here's example 1. Hitler's position of power was achieved by violence. For example, he used the Knight of the Long Knives to get more power. Oh my goodness, this is a classic example of an essay that leaves the examiner hungry. There's hardly any evidence in it. Yes, the candidates mention the Knight of the Long Knives. Great. Tick. But they don't mention anything else. That is a classic example where there is not enough evidence. Here's a second example paragraph. Hitler's position of power was achieved by violence. For example, he used the Knight of the Long Knives to get power. The Knight of the Long Knives happened in July of 34. This removed the essay threat from Ernst Röhm, their leader, who was rumoured to be a homosexual. In a hotel in a lake resort near Munich, the SA leaders were having a meeting. Hitler arranged that the SS, led by Heinrich Himmler, oh my goodness, it goes on, it goes on, it goes on. Yes, this answer has a great amount of depth, but it's got too much depth. There's depth here that we don't need to know. We don't need to know that Röhm was rumoured to be a homosexual. We don't need to know that the Night of the Long Knives happened in a lake resort near Munich. This kind of answer is going to leave the examiner feeling sick. And really importantly, if you have a look at this example paragraph, it actually barely answers the question. This candidate here just gets obsessed with a story, tells the story, and doesn't actually answer the question. Let's look at a third example, which funnily enough is just about right. Hitler's position of power was achieved by violence. The best example of this is the Knight of the Long Knives, July 34. Röhm, the leader of the SA, was rumoured to be plotting against Hitler. He and other SA leaders were arrested during the night and murdered by the SS. This violent act gave Hitler significantly more power as it removed their potential opposition. Perfect. This answer is going to leave that examiner looking just as smug and satisfied as this man here. It's got some evidence, it's got some knowledge in it. It's got a date, July of 34. It's got names of specific people, Röhm, the leader of the SA. It mentions the SS, but it doesn't go into huge amounts of depth about the story. This is an example of getting just the right amount of knowledge. Now let's look at those 3 examples side by side. So example 1 we said was the example that left the examiner hungry. Example 2 is the example where the examiner is going to feel sick from the amount of knowledge. Example 3 is the one where he's going to feel really smug. And if you look at the length of those 3 paragraphs, I wanted to show you these side by side because sometimes less is more. And I know some of you in class think when people hand in essays that are 3 or 4 pages long, that must be brilliant. And often they're not. Getting the right amount of knowledge is really important. Let's look at some golden rules. So the golden rules of including the right amount of knowledge in an essay. Firstly, you've got to include specific knowledge. Names, dates, places, if you can manage it, statistics. Because all of those things brilliantly show off what you've remembered. But really importantly, you need to not tell overly long stories. Keep those specific knowledge in there, but do it with less is more. And less is really often more. Don't put so much in there that it distracts your answer to the question. The most important thing you do in an essay is answer the blimmin' question. You follow those golden rules though, and you will get just the right amount of knowledge in an essay. Good luck.